Okay. Starting. Wait, hang on. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the RPG After Years, your weekly show covering all things RPGs past, present, and future. I'm Jay.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Scott.
So this is episode 6. Is 6 correct?
Yep.
Episode 6. Nice. So today's episode, we are going to be doing a little something new for the show, even in regards to it being the golden years. We're going to be reviewing a TV series. But yeah, not just any TV series, specifically the Witcher Netflix TV series. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that.
Me too.
So we have lots to say. So it'll be a two-parter. This is also our first ever review of a medium outside of video games. So it might be a little rocky. We haven't quite refined an algorithm to perfectly score these TV shows.
Just
yeah.
throwing something at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it suck? Yes or no? But yeah, before that, let's jump into our catch-ups. So, Rich, what have you been up to?
Man, besides spending time at the gym, I know Scott's been giving me a hard time about this, but man, I've been plugging away at Grandia too. Like a lot of time. And so I don't know why. I just really like it. And was it Saturday and Sunday? I just sat on the couch and really do anything with anybody. It was just kind of one of those chill weekends and just plugged away at it.
You're even way far ahead of Bill now.
I know. Well, I did that with Final Fantasy VIII as well.
Yeah, could this be a game that I'm playing too?
I mean,
it sounds like you guys are liking it.
I like it. I think it's not overly complicated. It's pretty easy to get into.
I really like it too, but the graphics are pretty old, so I don't know if you would be able to get into it or not, Jay.
Well, I mean, it's a Dreamcast game, right? I believe so.
Yeah. I would say it doesn't look as good as like Final Fantasy VIII, but it does look better than Final Fantasy VII.
True. So doing that, I have not started the material. I just got past the church where I was given the quest to go find the Grand Saber.
Jesus, because I feel like that's like halfway into the game, if not more.
I think so. So, and then I just left town. I went through the mountains and I went to this other place. I think I'm in the hometown of Rowan.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm in his hometown.
Yeah.
So the little boy, and that's about it.
Are you guys playing this on the Switch?
Yeah.
How much was it?
Well, the collection was like $20.
That sounds right. I think so.
I think so.
Bill's playing it on his phone through illicit means, but
we can't talk about that here.
Nope. Yeah. So it's been pretty fun. I enjoy it. I have not started the Materia Lockdown Challenge yet, probably because I've been busy with Grandia too. So please don't kill me, Bill.
You should focus on the lockdown.
I know, because you guys want to catch time. Yeah, you guys want to catch up to me. It's rare that I'm far ahead of anything.
I don't like it. Well, you've got slow down.
Sorry. Because after this game is supposed to be, is it Legends of Legaia?
I think so.
I'll blow through that one too. I love that game.
I'm just gonna I'm just not gonna be able to catch up with you guys.
No, it's fine.
Too slowly. Yeah. Oh well.
Well, Bill was telling me to do the same thing to focus on lockdown. I need to do that. But you got to think too, what comes out in like a month?
That's true.
So I will stop pretty much doing everything but that.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's a good thing the game was delayed because I think Bill had originally talked about doing the lockdown in March anyway. And I'm like, nobody's going to want to be playing the original.
Yeah. Unless we try to, swap it out. Well, we could do, depending on how this all plays out with the remake, we could do it for the new one next year, but we'll see.
We shall.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious if it'll translate in a similar challenge.
Yeah. Who knows? Other than that, haven't played much of anything else. Just, yeah, that's it. What about you, Scott?
Well, I've been not necessarily playing a lot this week, but it's been like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Corey did another couple battles in the Fire Emblem Three Houses DLC. I think he finished another couple chapters of that. So he'll probably have that wrapped up, in the next month or so, if not less. He also booted up Pokemon Shield for like 20 minutes one day because I think they were doing this promotion where you could catch the Kanto starters in the wild area, except for he signed in to do that like 20 minutes after it ended. Because we thought it was like all weekend, and then it was
I
like
did not know that it was happening.
Yep. And it ended at like 6 p.m. that Sunday. So it was like, well, fuck, we missed it.
Damn it. I'm sure you could trade him to get to it.
Yeah, probably. They were also doing max raid battles of Mewtwo, but you can't catch Mewtwo that way. So, oh well. And then my friend Lauren came over a couple days this week. We played a little bit of Rise of the Tomb Raider, did a couple like a tomb, and then like one area of that. I think we're getting on in that game. And then we played Final Fantasy X as well. Got through Bavel, saw the the water makeout scene, the Calm Lands, and we're about halfway through Mount Gagazet. She's about to go into that Seymour fight that I think Jay mentioned gave him a hard time a couple episodes ago.
Oh yes. Oh,
that'll be a true test for her.
What Seymour version is that? He's got a specific name.
Seymour Flux.
Seymour Flux, yes.
It's the one that like flies out over the mountain cliff.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, we'll see how she does.
I think the last time I played it, I was playing it on the PS4, and I think I got up to that point and didn't have any issues. I was like, oh, okay. I must have just been an idiot.
Yeah. Well, you can always charge up all your Aeon's overdrives and cheese it.
That's true.
I booted up Link's Awakening for like 2 seconds because I'm at this point. Like the side thing in that game is you can collect chamber dungeons, and I only have one of those to do left, but I don't have enough rupees to buy all the things I need to complete it. So I've just been grinding rupees, just running like the river mini game in that one over and over and over. But that's all I did there. And then another buddy of mine came over one day this week, and he played more of Breath of the Wild. He did a couple story things in there. He got to Kakariko Village and Hateno Village, learned all the Sheikah powers. So that's going pretty good. He's liking that game. I think he might be coming over again this week to play.
You just said a bunch of gibberish to me. I had no idea what you just said.
You should play it, Rich. It's amazing.
All right, fine. Dang.
Corey would back me up on that. I said it before. It's his favorite video game. Not mine, but did a couple Ring Fit Adventure cardio workouts. Completed World 8. That's still going good. Love that game. Great substitute for cardio. Except for he ate too much one day this week. So I did like Ring Fit Adventure. And then I was like, oh, that's not going to be enough. So then I went out for a run too.
There's no such thing as eating too much. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, I'm trying to lose weight for the wedding, man. Got to be shredded.
It totally is. It totally is. There's also a thing as not exercising enough.
So that's true.
Catch-22.
I do spend like 2-3 hours in the gym at night. So
that's a long time. You're probably getting jacked at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there.
Just sitting there. Playing Grandia, probably.
5-minute rests between sets whenever you're lifting heavy.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a pain.
And then finally, guys, Corey and I, we beat a game this week again.
Holy crap.
We finished Astral Chain. I added that in post last week, but I had it ready live this time.
I love it. I was like, is this new?
New drop. I figured whenever one of us beats a game, we'll blast that one. But anyway, so I think after we get through the Witcher review, we'll do a review of Astral Chain and put out our thoughts on that. Just a preview overall. I liked it. Not loved it, though. So yeah, that's all I've been doing this week. What about you, Joseph?
Okay. Just the two Tales games I've been playing, Berseria and Tales of the Abyss. I am over 20 hours into Berseria, and I kind of got stuck on Tales of the Abyss, and I don't know what happened, but I totally forgot that you can look guides up on the internet, and so I spent a really long time trying to figure out where I needed to go next because
Yeah.
it just says like someplace over in the east. That's all it says, and it's like
Jesus.
it's a pretty decent sized map, and so I spent a couple hours just trying to find a place. And then I was like, okay, screw this, and just stopped playing it for several days. And then I went back and I'm like, my God, why don't I'm just going to Google it. So that is going well.
True resourcefulness.
Yeah, right. Berseria is still going very well as well. I think I'm finally a bit over halfway through the game. Yeah,
that just made
nothing.
me realize that Rich hasn't been playing them.
No,
You
he
should play
hasn't.
those instead as well.
All right, fine. Okay, so I can take a break. I'll go back to start doing Tales of Berseria, but it hurts me because I don't want to do that. I'm just so
But thou must.
Thou must play the game. Sorry.
Yes.
So are you about the halfway point at both of them, Jay?
I don't think I'm at the halfway point for Tales of the Abyss. I am actually not even to a very pivotal point in the game, which is supposedly the end of chapter 1 out of 3 chapters. So I'm not to that that main character turning point yet. That ends the chapter.
Yeah.
So I'm quite a bit farther in Berseria than I am Tales of the Abyss. But
You said you've been enjoying Abyss more, right?
yeah, overall I have been. Gracie really likes Tales of Berseria, though. I don't know why there's a character in there that at some point joins your party, maybe spoiler rich, but her name is Eleanor. And
All right.
she's an exorcist, and she joins your party, and she's like this positive moral compass for the team. But Gracie just totally loves her. I don't know why. And so several times that I've been playing it, I just hand the controller over to Gracie and she'll just walk around and do battles and stuff. She is doing quite good, actually. She's like winning at battles and pressing the right buttons and
Maybe we should have her on for the review.
Nice.
Right. I'll get a summary at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Tea time with
all
Gracie.
at tea time. Yeah. Milk time.
All right. Well, then let's move on then. Okay, guys, we still have a Patreon. It hasn't gone away. It's still there. Just real quick, just going over the benefits. You can get some early episode access, ad-free episodes. You can participate live in the video version of the show, which we're streaming right now to YouTube. And you can find that on our Patreon page. I think Jay has entered the final planning stages of his anime corner.
I have the topics. I just need a document and then to record, and then I got to figure out how to get music into it that doesn't suck. And then
you'll get there. And then bonus episodes of the Aftercast, which we have one live now. RPG controversies as of late. Extra reviews. I just posted the Luigi's Mansion 3 review Saturday, I believe. So that's live and ready for everybody to listen to. And then much more. So get on that Patreon. We would very much appreciate your support, and you get lots of goodies for doing so. And one more announcement. well, we didn't announce this last week, but the Materia lockdown is still going strong. It's in full swing. I know that we've got like, a healthy amount of people that have started it, been using the bot. I see the tweets go out all the time. I think some dude wrote like an article about the lockdown challenge. I need to look that up. I wish
Yeah.
I had it
Oh
ready.
man,
That was awesome.
I-
I mean, I haven't read it yet, but it's nice whoever did that.
it makes me wish I would have spent more time actually making the bot behind it because I'm afraid.
At least it works though, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Maybe next year.
Yeah. So the blog it was posted on is called My Boxed Universe by Cascade Studios. Guys, help me remember to post a link to that article in the show notes. But yeah, so that's going on, and lots of lockdowns have started. You can find out more information about that at materialockdown.com. It's for a good cause.
Yep.
All right, ready for some news, fellas?
Let's do some news.
Let's do it.
Hear ye, gather round for all your news. Stop your clatter and listen close. Alas, you won't believe your ears. Listen close for the news.
All right, so first up, this thing just came out of nowhere. Square Enix has partnered with, I think, Nestle, although they're saying Butterfinger, to release DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake for buying Butterfingers, Babe Ruths, and Crunch Bars. So the way this works is for every 2 candy bars you buy, up to 10, you get a piece of DLC. And if you do at least 2, you get like a free PS4 Tifa theme. So the weird thing about this to me is they haven't announced, like, other than the theme, what the DLC is. Like, is Cloud going to get like a Butterfinger sword, or
He's going to come out with diabetes.
with what?
Diabetes.
Fat Cloud.
Yeah. Just, bruh, I can't do this. Bruh.
Guys, this presents a moral dilemma for me, because I think Nestle is in charge of all those candy bars.
Yeah, they're
And
bad people, aren't they?
Yeah, I despise Nestle as a company, and I go out of my way to try and not buy products from them, even though it's really hard.
I can buy them.
But I might do it for this DLC, even though
Rich has no moral compass.
I have no more. I'll buy them. I'm not going to eat it, but I'll buy them.
Yeah, and I'm not a candy guy either, so it's just like
Butterfingers are disgusting.
Yeah,
first of
agree.
all it is caramel, the hard caramel that'll just get stuck in your teeth for the next 17 hours. You basically, whenever you eat a Butterfinger, you're basically getting fillings with chocolate.
Yeah,
like, that's all it is.
I actually laughed out loud when I think in the Slack you said something like, "Well, then you need a power washer to get all the little Butterfinger shit out of your mouth."
Yeah,
but little did you know,
Discord.
Yeah.
I do like Crunch Bars, but like, all those candies used to be better than they are now. I think they must have changed the recipe or something.
We don't really do candy bars. If we buy anything, it's like Hostess cakes, like snowballs. I'm a big snowball fan.
Even worse somehow. So are you guys gonna get any candy bars to get your DLC?
Yep.
Yeah.
I will not.
I mean, I'll buy them.
Good man.
Maybe we get some codes away.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's something really lame, like you get a couple of elixirs or something.
Stupid fat Cloud.
Yeah.
Fat Cloud would be funny. I would buy the candy bars for Fat Cloud.
Would it be like a mod? You just basically, not really a mod, but a costume change where all the characters are fat?
That would be great.
Fat Tifa,
what if it was just outfits that were advertising for the candy bars? Like it's just like a big Butterfinger symbol on Cloud's back.
That would be awesome too. This kind of smacks of the cup noodle thing.
Yeah.
15. It reminds me a lot of that. So we'll see if it's as egregious as that was. The ultimate flavor experience.
And I bet you think Cloud, there'll be some Butterfingers or at least some candy bars in Midgar. Cloud's gonna be like, my favorite snack is Butterfingers.
It's Butterfinger vending machines.
He's gonna. It's like the terrible ad placement in what is that freaking Nomura game, not Nomura. I'm really bad. Daryl Dixon, The Walking Dead.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it gonna? I hope it's not as bad as the monster advertisement that's in that. It's like a perfectly placed camera of just looking at a monster can, like it's some photographic shot of a monster ad. I'm like, this is
Just
ridiculous.
right in your face. Just right in your face the whole time.
Yeah, it's like
kind
okay.
of. I think Gladio's saying the ultimate flavor experience would be a good drop for us to have.
Yes.
I might look into that. All right. Well, enough about that. Okay, so the other thing that came out, well, something else that came out this week, Yoshinori Kitase, the producer of Final Fantasy VII Remake and many other Square Enix games, he was being interviewed about the 7 Remake, and somebody asked him if he ever thought about Parasite Eve or something like that. And basically his answer was that the world of Parasite Eve has some really deep characters and rich lore, that it would be a shame to not revisit Parasite Eve in some way. And then I immediately went from 6 to midnight, because as you guys probably know, Parasite Eve, the first one, is one of my favorite games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys think this is a hint, or is it like an offhand comment? Do you think we might actually get something?
I mean, I think it's an offhand comment for right now because it's just like one of the producers of Legends of Dragoon said the same thing, basically, about a remake of that game. So, I mean, these directors and producers of these games can say all that stuff, but
right,
is it really going to pan out for anything?
Yeah, I think you're probably right for now. Hopefully, whatever they did with Parasite Eve would end up being closer to the first game than the travesties that were 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But can you imagine like an RE2 remake style remake of the first one? That would be amazing.
A little terrifying.
Yeah.
And they could be doing this just as a tester. Like, these people are doing this as like, okay, say this and see what happens.
Gauge public interest.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if it's that planned out, but I definitely think it's just an offhanded comment of like, hey, yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. We would be stupid to not revisit it. But,
what else would he say? Be like, oh, we don't really have any. The only thing he could say is we don't have any plans.
Yeah, but they just have to be careful with revisiting all these old games, because eventually it could be construed as not creating new ideas, more as a, let's just revisit everything else.
Yeah. Okay.
In the terms of revisiting old ideas, I think we're kind of at that point in like company creativity where it's like we're already kind of hitting that, because trends are just a cycle.
Mhm.
Bell-bottom jeans, totally back in.
We did get Octopath. That was a new IP.
Yeah. That's one.
It was.
Yeah. Anyway.
So we have some more Final Fantasy VII Remake news, and it's specifically about how the optional quests are being designed, or were designed with intentions of being just as high of quality as the main quest. So basically, in an interview, who exactly was it? Nomura was in an interview with IGN Japan, and basically said that the subquests are made the same way as the main story quests. And he goes on to say that initially the development team was more so looking at a larger quantity of side quests in the game, but they decided to cut that back and focus more on quality, not quantity. So that is overall good news, I think, but I also think there might be some translation issues in regards to the context in which he was talking about. Some people are speculating that the side quests are going to be like as good or as big as the main quest, and I think they're just saying that quality over quantity with the side quests. So we're going to have some good side quests that are better quality, and hopefully it won't be a Final Fantasy 15 do-over.
Do we believe him?
Nope. Sorry.
I don't believe most of what most people say at any given time.
Yeah. Well, it says in there.
I do believe there will be fewer side quests.
I don't think we're going to
That's
get
the only thing I
based on
believe.
this that will have like a 300 mission log of repetitive fetch quests, which
Stupid
it's
fetch
kind of what
quests.
it seems. Um,
Probably have like 25 okay side quests.
yeah, it did say some in the article that they did have a lot more side quests planned, but then decided to focus on quality over quantity. So here's
Yeah,
hoping.
and I imagine they need to, because like the particular article mentions that the part that this first game is covering is only like a 2-hour section in the original. So it's like you kind of have to, like they have to add a lot in order to actually
Right.
make it a full game.
I remember seeing another article that there would be a lot more story events than in the main one. Like apparently Cloud has dinner with Jesse's parents at one point. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I saw
Weird.
somebody make a pretty good joke about that. They were like, well, let's hope there aren't any plates dropped.
Oh, snap.
I thought that was funny.
I like it.
Anyway,
That's sad.
All right. So, Castlevania Symphony of the Night surprises launched on Google Play Store and iOS. I
have you,
didn't
any of
know
you guys
that.
ever played Symphony of the Night?
I can't remember if I have or not.
I have
It's-
not.
It's supposed to be the most famous Castlevania game, but I've never
Yeah.
played one.
I think it's on the Switch.
But
Play
it's
it
a
on the
big-
Switch.
Yeah, it's a big enough game where I thought it was worth mentioning that it, surprise launch on mobile.
Yeah. And then the next one, that's pretty much it for that. What's the next one we got? So, Phantasy Star 2 online open beta on Xbox One launches in America March 17th. So, if you guys ever want to try the Phantasy Star Online beta and you got an Xbox, give it a whir.
Sounds good.
That's pretty much
we all
it.
know that Fantasy Star is your favorite series.
I freaking love it. I can't get enough. I'm all warm and fuzzy on inside.
I can see the sarcasm just like radiating off of you.
I do have a surprise news thing I want to tell you. Just hit the button.
Okay.
Surprise. Reggie, from Nintendo, joins the GameStop's board of directors.
I saw that too.
That's
Like,
weird.
That is weird. You wouldn't think that somebody like Reggie would.
Well, hopefully he can turn that around. I mean, there are a lot of people saying he's going to turn around. We'll see what he does. Who knows what he's got going on?
Maybe he can, but since he retired, he's just been going around to different college campuses and making motivational speeches and shit. It's like we're hearing from him more now than we did when he was president. So
yeah, I'm excited to see what he's going to do and what kind of expertise he's going to bring to the table for the company. So
I hope GameStop's body is ready. I
Yeah,
just ordered
I'm
some
sure.
Zelda socks from there today.
There you go. So that's the news.
Cool. So on to the RPGs that have been released this past week. Last Friday on March 6th, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX came out on the Switch. Jay, did you buy it?
No, I don't want to spend money right now, but I
Yeah.
do want to get it.
I think the reviews have been mostly positive for people that are fans of the series. So,
Yeah,
and then,
they're fun games.
yeah, on March 10th, which would be the Tuesday before this episode comes out, Land Greaser 1 and 2 on the Switch. I've been seeing some buzz about this. Apparently, they're good games.
I've got a pre-order picking it up tomorrow.
Nice, as
Yep.
of this recording.
Yes, as of this recording.
Okay, so what's yet to come out, Rich?
What is yet to come out is day after this episode releases is March 13th, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and Neo 2
Neat.
on same day.
I know there are some people I've seen that are excited about Neo 2. So
Yeah, not really sure. And then on March 23rd, Monday after next, Legends of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 3 on PC.
neat. I've seen a lot of people say that that's actually or the Trails of Cold Steel series is actually pretty good. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about it, but
I don't either. I'm getting it on the Switch,
yeah,
which is
all
not a
right.
surprise.
Nothing is anymore.
All right, so that is it for the news. Let's take a quick break and then we're going to move on to our first TV review and potentially one of my most favoriteest discussions, The Witcher TV show.
Okay.
And we're back. So let's move on to the main discussion about the Witcher TV series. Okay, guys. So finally here, the Witcher TV series. I am pretty excited. So when did all of you actually watch and finish it?
I think I did mine in January.
Really? I
think
thought
so.
it was longer ago than that.
Well, I mean, you gotta think it's March, and it came
Yeah.
out the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
So
So-
January.
I remember that I started it after this podcast launched, I believe, but we watched it pretty quickly. Like, took us about a month, maybe. Well, that's not quick. By
I was like, wait a minute.
But we finished it the week before last, I think. Finally, so
Yeah, I think so. I've seen it 3 times so far. Once I smashed it in like 2 days, and then after that, I watched it with just family members who were interested. So
you've seen it 3 times?
I've seen
Jeez.
it 3 times. Yes,
Wow.
I'm a fan. I'm a
Yeah.
fanboy. So what's funny is that the TV series was actually announced back in 2017, like early-ish
Ooh.
2017.
That long ago?
Huh.
Yeah, it totally kind of blew my mind whenever I read that, because I feel like it was announced and then a year later we had it. But nope, it was announced in 2017 that Netflix was officially finding its Game of Thrones.
I do
um,
remember years ago reading that an article saying that like Henry Cavill was interested in playing Geralt, and I think that might have even been before the Witcher series even been like officially revealed.
He's perfect for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, 2017. It was released in December of 2019, and I think shooting actually had began in late 2018 or like mid 2018. So they only had to shoot. They didn't shoot for that long, and then the actual post production didn't take that long either, which kind of blows my mind whenever you think about the overall quality of the TV show, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about more in just a little bit. So as most people know, the TV series is based on the Witcher book series, which is written by I'm gonna totally butcher his name, but Andrzej
Call yourself a fan?
Andrzej
dare you.
Sapkowski. Andrzej Sapkowski. So he actually wrote those books. I don't remember. I think they're 90s or something like that. They're pretty old,
Oh wow.
but they were huge in Poland.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're not the newest books, so they're super huge in Poland. Andre was quite the famous author in Poland, and then in I don't know, the earlyish or mid 2000s, I think it was around 2006, CD Projekt Red got the rights to develop a game series based off of the Witcher world. But I think it's important to note that this TV series is an adaptation of the books. It has no relation to the games.
I've
As a
actually
matter of
started
fact,
listening to the book, and it's kind of striking like how similar, like almost blow by blow, it is to the series so far.
Yep.
yeah, they respect it quite well. I'm excited to chat more about that. But the author and the TV like the front runner of the TV show, her name's Lauren Hisrich, just straight up said like, this is not the games. The games, as far as we're concerned, are not canon, because they're kind of just because when the books end, that's the canon ending, as opposed to the games kind of just pick up where the books left off and put their own twist on it.
Right. How old is
So-
Game of Thrones? Like, when did that first one come out?
Oh, what was it? 2011, 2010?
Oh, so The Witcher is way older.
You mean the I'm sorry, I immediately
yeah, I meant the
assumed you
books,
meant the
sorry.
TV series. I think well, let me Google it real fast. Game of Thrones book release date. We're gonna find out.
Never.
1996.
Oh, so they're around
Really?
the same time, I guess.
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah. Well, what was the first Witcher book
The
called?
last
Do you
song?
remember?
No, the last wish.
The Last Wish. Let's see when that came out. That came out in 1993.
Oh, so it is older. Nice.
Yep, The Witcher is older. Boom. So yeah, I was actually really excited for this because I was a big fan of the games, and then from the games I got into listening to the audiobooks because I don't do no good reading.
Right.
So I've been really looking forward to this series ever since it was announced, um, and probably internally before then. So, what do you guys think? You ready to dive right into episode 1?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So, episode 1, The End's Beginning. So this episode opens up right away with a battle scene of Geralt and a Kikamora, which is Kikamora is just some some sort of monster that kind of kills people. So he's
That
in
was
a
that big
swamp.
scary fucker in the swamp, right?
Looks like Bill.
Yep. He's like fighting it, and it looks like it's gonna win. And then you see him. What's he do? He just like rips up out of it, and
Yeah, Hulk's
Oh
out.
yeah.
yeah, so because it eats him. That's right.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
eats him, and he busts his way out of it. So from there, he goes into a town called Blaviken. So Blaviken is an extremely important town for the books, and essentially just with Geralt. So while he's in Blaviken, he goes into a like a bar or a pub or whatever you want to call it, a tavern, and he's kind of being harassed because he's a Witcher. Nobody really likes Witchers. Witchers are mutants essentially. Were once humans that took a bunch of potions that altered their basically altered their DNA and um,
I have a question
their
about that.
genetic structure. What's your question?
The whole time, one of my big questions was like, I knew even before watching it that people in general don't really like Witchers, but I never really got why. Is it just because their creation was like unnatural?
So that's some reason they are considered mutants, but also because Witchers are seen as uncaring people. They only exist to make money off of killing monsters for people. Like they don't actually care about the people. They just care about getting their coin.
I guess
Um,
Geralt must be the exception to that because I feel like he always like puts the right thing above everything else.
yeah, Geralt
Usually,
and
I
his
think.
his entire clan, the Wolf clan or whatever. I can't remember the proper terminology for it. Um, but yeah, just him and his Witcher peeps in general kind of have a higher moral standard than a lot of the stereotypical Witchers. It's also worth noting that Geralt and his a few other people in his clan are some of the last remaining Witchers. They're being killed off, and the only way a Witcher can be created is is basically if you undergo like a very painful and rigorous transformation through the use of potions,
And I believe at
and
some point,
most people die.
Geralt
Uh,
alludes to the fact that he didn't have a choice in the matter, right?
No,
Yep.
he didn't.
Yep. So a lot of kids are basically taken into slavery and forced into it.
Yay.
I don't think you learn more about story. You won't learn more about Geralt's past until the next season, or
Oh,
until
okay.
you get all up in those books.
Right.
So Geralt's basically being harassed in this tavern, and he's not really too big on like causing a ruckus if he doesn't need to. Like he just likes to leave people alone. He likes to be left alone. But then a nice young lady named Renfrey comes along and kind of ends the bullying that's happening in there. And it turns out that she wants to hire Geralt as well. She wants to hire Geralt to kill a wizard named Stragobor, who thinks that she's evil because of an eclipse that happened on her birth. And basically, Stragobor is just like a crazy wizard who believes in some weird prophecy.
This is
That
jumping ahead a little bit, but Stragobor was on that like court of wizards that Yennefer goes to, right?
he is. Yep.
Okay.
He's quite the important one on the board as well.
Yeah, I remember when he showed up in episode 2. I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah. So basically, she wants Geralt to kill Stregobor, and he's
Probably
like,
should have.
yeah, he definitely should have. But Geralt, of course, refuses. Geralt doesn't kill humans; he kills monsters. That's kind of his motto. But essentially, Geralt refuses. One second, the sentence is okay. Yeah, and so from there, Geralt ends up going to see Stregobor, and you get like a kind of a look into the kind of magic that people can do. You see lots of nudity and all that fun
Yeah,
stuff.
this is the part where like all the women in the place are just
Love
like,
it.
walking around naked, right?
Yep. And so he talks to Stregobor for a little bit and tries to end the conflict in a non-violent way. But that dude essentially just says the same thing, like, "Hey, why don't you just kill her for me?"
Right.
Yeah. And Geralt's like, "No, that's not happening." So then Geralt is just trying to go and leave, and he ends up meeting up with Renfrey again, and she ends up trying to get him to do it again, and essentially they get their jig on. Geralt is a ladies' man, if you guys
Giggity.
haven't noticed. Giggity giggity.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a
And-
ladies' man. I think they're just like flock to him.
I mean, can you blame them?
I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
get that.
He makes my ovaries hurt, that's for sure. So they get their jig on, and Geralt ends up falling asleep and having like some weird dream that's kind of like a prophecy of here's Renfrey saying that something about a girl in the woods, and it's very confusing at first. You don't really realize what's going on, and so he wakes up and doesn't see Renfrey around, and realizes that she is going to kill Stregobor, and so for some crazy reason, Geralt's not too cool with that. So he rushes back to try and play the brave hero, and ends up just slaughtering all of Renfrey's men in one of the coolest sword action scenes I've personally seen. I really enjoyed that sequence of Geralt finally just being like, screw it, grabbing a sword and just taking everybody out. What do you
Right.
guys think of that?
I don't think it was as cool as the one and later on in the series when him and Yennefer are beating up all the people at the Dragon Cave, but it was close.
I had a boner
Alrighty.
the entire time. I thought it was great. I mean, it was such a good swords play that he had there. Just right off the bat, he just looks like fuck, and then he just starts whooping the shit out of everybody. I love
and his
it.
I really love Henry Cavill's like the way he has his facial expressions all throughout the whole battle. I think he just does a really good job of it.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, Henry Cavill like nailed this role.
Yeah,
I think it's
totally.
for him. It
And
is legit his.
I usually don't like hyper masculine characters or like super stoic characters, or even you have to be like really cool for me to like you if you're the main character. That's just how I am. I really like Geralt. I think he's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think he's more complex than like he initially comes off
Yeah.
in the front, especially given I'm a brooder. I just brood.
I laugh every time he makes that grunt.
So yeah, after he kills all of her men, Renfrey comes out and sees them, and they have a pretty awesome fight, which Geralt ends up being victorious. I mean, granted, Renfrey does get some good shots in at him. I think she gets a couple stabs in his gut, and
Yeah.
I think she ends up stabbing his hand too, or he uses his hand to block. I can't quite remember, but yeah, he takes a beating from her, but ends up fighting her and saying like, "Hey, like, don't do this. Like, go and like leave now, and I won't kill you." And then she, of course, tries to kill him, and he just doesn't hesitate this time and stabs her right in the neck.
He says no.
Yeah, he says no. No means no.
Yeah.
And so with her dying words, he basically tells her about the girl in the forest who is his destiny, and then she dies. Stragobor shows up and does his weird stuff and tries to take the body, and Geralt's like, "No, that's not. You're not taking her body. That's not cool." And so Stragobor kind of pulls a low shot and goes like, "Oh my gosh, Witcher, you killed all these men. You slaughtered all these men." And so everybody freaks out and starts throwing rocks at Geralt and
Dick.
yeah, right.
Which is a very smart move to do because he just killed a bunch of people.
Yeah,
For townspeople, he could just walk through the crowd stabbing people.
So I don't know if you guys caught this, but this is actually the event that gives him the nickname the Butcher of Blaviken.
Yes, I caught that.
I did not, but now that you say it, I'm like, oh, of course.
That the Butcher of Blaviken is like one of his most famous nicknames. It's
I think
cool.
at some point I must have like lost track of what the name of that town in particular was.
Yep. So on the contrary, all the stuff is happening with Geralt, but they're also showing us some stuff that's happening in a kingdom called Sintra. So basically another country called Nilfgaard's invading Sintra and like taking over and killing all their people. And so Queen Calanthe of Sintra basically gets her granddaughter, Princess Cyrilla, and tells her to escape and go find Geralt, and everybody that's in the castle of Sintra is like killing themselves because they don't want to be tortured by Nilfgaard. And so Ciri is able to escape, but not without.
I just want to throw out there real quick that I think Queen Calanthe is a really cool character. I know she's like sort of a side character, but I thought she was like kind of owned every scene that she was in just about.
Yeah, she is really awesome. I enjoyed everything that she was in. So Ciri ends up getting away. Not initially though. She is initially captured by one of the Nilfgaardian officers, but she uses her crazy magic to trigger some weird crap that happens. It causes like a fissure and like the earth to crumble.
Yeah,
I thought it was a
weird.
I thought it was it kind of seemed dreamlike. I was like, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but she was able to escape and get out of there. And end of episode 1. So I think we got some really good introductions for Geralt and Cyrilla and Calanthe and all the kind of major players going forward.
Yeah.
I really like this episode. I like the action in it, and overall, I like the visuals. I thought the Kikamura looked a little less desirable than I would have liked, but
I can barely remember what it looks like. But it's like the biggest thing he fights in the whole series or season, isn't it? More or less.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
the dragon,
I think so.
I guess, but he doesn't really fight it.
I do think all the visuals around Sintra and Nilfgaard invading it were all really good.
Yeah. In general, the first episode does a really good job of introducing you to like who Geralt is and what he's like and what Witchers are, sort of, and the whole setup to series plot is really cool.
Yep, totally. So we can go ahead and give a couple. What do I have? 4 sections here on the 1 to 5 scales. So rate the story development, Scott.
Out of 5, right?
Yep, out of 5.
I'll give it a 3.
3?
Because there are lots of episodes in the series that I like better than that one. It just feels like sort of a side story almost as far as Geralt's plot. So
this whole season is pretty much a side story about Geralt.
Well, the whole first book was mainly short stories, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Rich, how about you?
I'm gonna give it a 4, only because that fight scene. Why? I just it was so good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to agree with Scott. I'll give it a 3. Like, not a whole lot really relevant to the actual main plot happened here, except the whole series stuff with Geralt being told by what's her stabbed in the neck face. So how about action? What do you give action, Scott?
Well, there is that great fight scene, like you said, and like all the shit in the castle when it's being raided, like people jumping out of windows and stuff.
Magic, arrows.
Yeah, all that shit's really cool. You got that one wizard dude, Mousak.
Musak. Yeah, Mousak. I hate his name.
Is it Musak? I thought it was Mousak.
Yeah, it's Mousak.
Okay.
Mousak.
Yeah.
I just think
his magic's really cool. Isn't there like, oh, the whole thing with like the soldiers bursting through the gate? That was cool.
Yes, that was good.
So I'll give it a 4.
I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Oh, because the fight scene was great. The magic introduction was good too, with the whole castle and everything. I thought it was really done very well.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that Fisher too.
Yeah, that was really cool. I agree with both of you. I'm also going to give it a 4. So how about the acting? Acting was the thing I was most worried about this series.
Well, I think that, as we already said, Henry Cavill pretty much nails Geralt in every episode. In general, I'm not convinced by Ciri's actress yet, though.
I'm not either.
I feel like she's not. Even the character herself hasn't been super compelling so far, and I'm sure she like grows later on. But her whole subplot for the whole series so far has usually been the boring one for me. I remember thinking Renfrey was pretty good, as far as her acting and like her being an intriguing character. Although we lose her.
Ragabor was pretty good too.
Yeah, him as well. I can't really. Oh, and then Calanthe was in this episode, and like I said, her actress like nails every scene. So, I'll give it a 4. I was going to say 5, but Ciri.
Go on, Rich.
I thought the acting was very well done. I think Henry Cavill nails it. Just like you guys said, I think this role was for him. 100%. This is him. I'm gonna give it a 4.
I am also going to go with a 4. So I probably would have given it a 5, but like Scott said, I'm not too sure about the Ciri actress, but also some of the like fill-ins, like the no-name actors that you have going around aren't necessarily the best. What I do love are the dwarf actors. I'm pretty sure there was one in this episode who was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
All righty. So last one, visuals. What do you guys think of the visuals?
Like you said, the Kikimora was okay. I mean, for a Netflix series, I guess it was pretty good. But yeah, if I'd seen that in a movie, I'd been like, ugh. But all the castle special effects during all that was pretty good. The visuals of the show in general are really great. The costume design, Geralt looks awesome. So, yeah, that's. I guess I would give it a 4. I think.
How about you, Richie Rich?
I'm gonna give it a 3. You could definitely tell that it is not movie quality as of yet, but I think with the new season that's going to come out, you will see an increase in development for that kind of stuff. But I think it's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with a 3. I think Rich was spot on in saying that like the quality's not quite there. You can kind of tell that this was maybe a gamble that they were making with the series. Like they spent enough money on it, but definitely not Game of Thrones level money.
Yeah, we'll see more creatures and stuff probably in season 2 because of how well it did.
Yep, totally. All right, so let's move on to episode 2. This was probably my least favorite episode. So you actually start out meeting Yennefer. So Yennefer is a very, very important character, and coincidentally, she's also a hunchback. So she's pretty much living on like a pig farm, I think is is where she's at. And she's being treated really poorly because she's a hunchback and she is not super great looking. She's kind of grody looking. And she's being, well, I think she's kind of being a creeper with these two people that are like kind of kissing and making out. And basically she like grabs a flower that one of them dropped, and they see her, and they kind of just attack her because she's a weirdo hunchback, and for some reason, people back then treated anybody with deformities like they were the plague. So it actually seemed like they were about to rape her. Did you guys get rapey vibes?
I did not. I thought they were going to beat the crap out of her.
They didn't really seem old enough, but maybe.
Because they were talking about like making fun of her because she was watching them kiss and stuff. I don't know. I kind of got rapey vibes. But then she ends up using magic and teleporting herself to like some weird rocky like inside of a cave. And this is where you meet how do you say it? Istrid? Yeah, Istrid.
I think so, yeah.
Yep. Istrid is a wizard. And yeah, he's like, oh crap, no, you got to go or they're going to find you. And so he creates a portal for her and sends her back to where she came from.
This
and
is
she's like
the slender black dude, right?
Yep, with like the piercing eyes.
All right.
Hated him.
Yeah. But yeah, she's like totally confused, doesn't know what happened. And then randomly this good looking, super clean woman in a stick up your butt outfit shows up at that person's house and is like, hey, how much can I buy this hunchback for? And the guy's like says something really small and sells off his stepdaughter, who's Jennifer, to this random woman who just wanted to buy a hunchback. If that doesn't show you how much her family loved her.
I actually have an issue with that because how old is Jennifer? Like,
by then, I think she was probably in her early 20s by then.
You would think. So they raised her that long. So they raised her that long. So, if you would think they would have got rid of her a long time ago by then.
Maybe.
Yep. I think they were kind of using her as slave labor.
It's free.
Because they had a pig farm, yeah. And they got something out of her because he saw her as just being useless. So she comes along, and this is how do you say her name? I'm so bad with names.
Tisaya,
yeah, or Tisaya. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Do they just call her Tis like later on? No, that's Triss. Yeah,
yeah. He kind of reminds me of like this less ominous version of Melisandre.
Yeah, maybe.
Lady.
I kind of see her as a much less terrible version of Dolores Umbridge.
I could see that
Yeah.
too.
So she takes Yennefer to Aretuza, which is basically just a magic school. So there she ends up becoming friends with Istrid and like getting their jig on and becoming sexy lovers. Essentially because Yennefer totally hated herself and tried to kill herself after she had been taken, and Istrid was like the first person to actually start paying attention to her,
right,
and learning more about her. But you actually find out that there is a reason why he was paying attention. I think that's actually in episode 3, but yeah. So they start becoming good friends and talking, and then Yennefer's really trying hard to be good at this magic stuff, and she's not, and other people are better than her, and she thinks that she's not going to make it, and then all of a sudden she totally does. Tisaya, that's going to annoy me to say.
It's okay.
Basically, turns the 3 students into like eels during a fake graduation ceremony, and is like, "Hey, Yennefer, you are the one who actually graduated. Congratulations! Push these eels in the water." Like some weird. I thought that was kind of weird, but
I didn't understand and I watched this episode twice because I was really drunk the first time. But
no,
I didn't understand like what the purpose of the eels were, but I read up on it, and apparently it like powers the school somehow.
Yeah, they're just conduits of magic at that point.
They
just kind of turn them into eels and kick them in that water, and that water, I don't know, uses their magic to power the school.
There's also that really cool scene somewhere in here where Tisaya tries to get all the girls to capture lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
and then Yennefer manages to catch it and tries to like turn it on to Saya.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. I think
She
that's
failed, but good
yeah,
try.
Horribly.
yeah, she did fail horribly, and just like blew her finger up or something like that.
Right.
Yep. So after that, Yennefer officially graduates and is able to like continue learning Aretusa. Uh, but then we also have this parallel story of Geralt, and he is in a town called Posada, and he walks into a bar, and there's this funny bard in there singing, and the bard ends up like sitting down next to Geralt and talking. And that's how we get introduced to Jaskier,
My favorite character.
or in the English translations, Dandelion or Dandelion, depending on who's reading it.
I was really confused by that because I like saw people referring to him as Dandelion, and then I knew I hadn't heard that in the show at all, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, Jaskier is the Polish version.
Hmm,
Dandelion's the
interesting.
English translation.
Weird.
Yeah, that's the only one they went with the Polish name on.
Do you guys find it odd that like pretty much all the characters except for Geralt were played by like relatively newcomers to like acting as far as being
Yeah.
big things?
I thought it was
like it.
cool. I thought it was
Yeah.
super cool.
And for the most part,
Because-
they all did a pretty good job.
Yeah, they did a great job, especially Jaskier's actor. What's his
Jaskier's
face?
did great. Joey Bateman.
Yeah.
And Yennefer's actress was great too. I don't know her name though.
They all did super fantastic.
Just Siri.
So Geralt is talking with Jaskier in this bar, and he's like super annoyed by him and ends up leaving. But then he gets hired to go basically find a grain thief. And Jaskier follows him just because he's kind of being annoying and he wants inspiration for his tales. He wants to experience an adventure. So they're going out looking for this grain thief, and they end up finding a what is that thing called? A Sliven? Yeah, Sliven named Torque. It's like this little horned
Devil Man.
Yeah, horned devil man. And him and Geralt fight for a little bit and have a kind of a funny back and forth. Do you remember exactly what they say? He's like, what'd your mom fuck, a goat?
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was pretty great. But I think Geralt ends up getting knocked out. And whenever him and Jaskier wake up, they see that they've been captured by elves, specifically Filavandrel, who is the Elven King. So a little bit of backstory, which I think you find out later on, and kind of just through the talks here, as he's Geralt, Jaskier, Filavandrel, and his posse are kind of chatting and discussing. Humans basically just wiping out the elves, specifically Calanthe. Calanthe and the Cintrans have just dominated the elves and taken all their land and whatnot. So Filavandrel's kind of having like some moral issues on whether to kill them or whether to let them go. He ends up letting them go. I think
sweet talks him.
Yeah, Geralt sweet talks him. And basically Geralt urges him to like lead his people to better lands, since they were banished by humans instead of like living up in the mountains and stuff. But yeah, Geralt and Jaskier end up going free and taking and heading out. And so one important thing to mention is that Geralt convinces Filavandrel here to take the elves and go find new land. Like that's the advice that he gave them, and that's the advice that they took, and that ends up being important with some like little, I can't remember exactly which episode it is in the future, but it ends up being
it
important.
comes up again, doesn't it?
Yep, it comes up and it's not good. So you can kind of see how what's happening in these episodes is affecting other things.
Well, also, this whole exchange is where Jaskier gets the inspiration to write the now iconic "Toss a coin to your Witcher."
Yeah, toss
I
a
love it.
coin to your Witcher.
That'll be one of the transition pieces here for sure.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I love it.
So
And then, so Geralt also he decides to allow Jaskier to keep traveling with him because he thinks it might improve the public opinion of Witchers, was what I gathered out of that.
I don't. They don't necessarily travel together. It's like Geralt just tolerates him whenever he's around. Um, I
Right.
think like them meeting up just happens to be like, oh, hey, you're in the same town as me. What a coinky dink. It's kind of so the entire Witcher series is all driven by destiny. It's like these ideas of destiny, like, oh, we're in the same town because of destiny.
He does call him his traveling partner at one point later on. doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. It's kind of difficult because it's like progressing long periods of time.
Yeah.
These short tales. And so it is super weird.
But then I was always disappointed whenever there was an episode that didn't have Jaskier. It's just like,
Yeah. Well, Jaskier apparently doesn't age. So but yeah, so on the flip side, in the parallel universes or in the futures or whatever people are trying to figure out what's happening at this point, you see that Cirilla is like traveling through the woods and finds a refugee, a little boy, and he guides her to a refugee camp, and he just kind of goes off and disappears and doesn't join her, and she ends up getting like spending some time with this nice kind of nicest refugee family, which is eventually attacked. The refugee camp's attacked by Nilfgaards. They Nilfgaardians, and they come out and like slaughter everybody. So one important crazy scene in this episode that blew my mind was whenever that refugee family that Ciri was hanging out with were being like total just dick bags to the dwarf, like kicking them around, being mean to him. And whenever the Nilfgaardians attack, like he was just like, screw it, pulls out a knife and just starts slaughtering everybody that was making fun of him. And I was like, oh my God, that's brutal, but good for him.
Like the mom in the family, like she insults him like one last time or something, and that finally is like, well, fuck this.
Yeah, then he starts stabbing everybody.
Yep.
Stabby stab.
Yeah, but it was quite funny. It was a sweet victory.
Yeah.
But
I
she
did feel
ends
bad
up
because there was that scene with the mom like telling Ciri that she's part of the family now, and but well, you reap what you sow, I guess.
Yep,
Yeah,
totally.
And you get stabbed.
Yeah. What?
Just get shanked.
So Ciri's like up against the tent, and then the kid that saved her like just cuts her out and grabs her. And I'm just
thinking,
thinking,
know he was there.
Yeah,
she was there.
I was just thinking, like, how did he know? That doesn't make sense.
Maybe as like the silhouette.
Yeah, maybe he was just watching from the shadows and realized that was her and got her out. But I was like, man, that's
what
a
if
risk.
you got that wrong?
MVP.
Yeah, and he's awesome. And she ends up finding out that his name is Dara and that he is an elf.
Convenient.
Okay.
Yep. And I think you do find out that his family was killed by Queen Calanthe.
Oh yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he basically says that his family, like, they were traveling, like exactly what we just talked about with Geralt, how Filavandrel was supposed to take his people and lead them into better lands. They ended up getting ambushed by the Cintrians and just getting slaughtered.
Thanks, Geralt.
Yeah.
Thanks, Geralt.
There's lots
Good
of
job.
like, little like lines thrown around about how apparently Queen Calanthe just like rules an absolute iron fist.
Yep.
Yeah, she's kind of
looks
a
like that.
tyrant. She's terrible. She slaughtered all the elves. She's awful.
I love her.
I do too. All right. So let's move through these ratings at a decent pace because we're burning the midnight oil.
Yeah.
So Scott and Rich, what do you guys think of story development here?
I'm gonna go a little lower on this one because the Ciri story was mostly mostly boring, and the Geralt story was also one of the more boring ones, I thought. Although we did get Jaskier, so I liked that and his input into things. Uh, and I thought the Yennefer plot in this one was like really super interesting. So I feel like the Yennefer plot sort of saved the other two from dragging down the story too much. And honestly, there was more time on Yennefer in this one than anybody else. So I'll give it a 3.
I'll give it 3 as well. Yennefer basically saved it for me.
Thanks, Yen.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 2. I was totally kind of bored with this episode. I wasn't like there was just a lot more talking than I wanted, especially around the Philevangel stuff. Like I think it was cool how they this further built out the mystery of like trying to understand what's happening with these plot lines.
Yeah.
Because now we have 3 different plot lines, and it's kind of hard for us to intelligently piece them together. But
It's
I
also
thought,
easy to like not understand why we're spending so much time on Yennefer because you don't really understand like why it matters.
yep. So, and I also thought the series stuff was just boring. Like it was
Yeah,
all
it's
just
stuck.
kind of boring.
Yeah.
How about action?
There wasn't much action at all in this one. I guess there's the raid on the camp, and there's the fight between Geralt and the Goat Man, but that's about it in this one. So I'll give it a 1.
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to rate it when there's not much at all in there.
I'm going to give it just a 2. I'll get a little bit more action than that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2 as well. It's just nothing really crazy happened, but I mean, kind of the fights that Geralt had with Torque, and that was pretty fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
So how about the acting?
Let's see. Dara barely talks. Ciri is also not great as usual. Geralt's great as always. And we got introduced to Yennefer in this one, and I feel like Yennefer's acting is pretty much on point throughout. I think Tasaya, she does a good job. And then I don't actually remember the Philevangel that well, all his stuff, so he was kind of forgettable, I guess. I'll give it a 3.
How about you, Rich?
2. 1 for Yennefer and 1 for Justir.
So
that's it.
I'll give it a 3. It was entirely carried by Jaskier and Yennefer. Everybody else was quite terrible in this. I didn't think Henry Cavill was that great in this. I didn't think Geralt was that great in this. And Philevangel actually kind of sucks. If you guys go back and watch, like he's just not that great.
Yeah.
And then
He doesn't
Ciri's
even
not
like
that
seem
great.
like he's a king. Like you have to be paying attention to even really get that.
Yeah, totally. So Yennefer is really good, but these episodes that she's in, they're just so pouty that I'm just not super into it.
Actually, up mine to a 4 because I forgot that Jaskier was a main character in this one.
All right, what about the visuals?
Visuals, Geralt's in like this desert weedy area the whole time. I guess the campfire raid looked good. There's no real monsters other than Goat Boy. I guess I'll give it a 2 because there's nothing really to look at the whole time. You know what? There is the all the stuff at Aristuga is pretty good, so I'll give it a 3.
How about you, Rich?
Dose.
Yeah,
I'm not impressed.
I'm gonna give it a 2 as well, just because it wasn't like there wasn't really much going on. It just kind of seemed like they didn't really have to do much for this. The stuff at Aretuza was not half bad, but especially with I think Aretuza is probably the only place that had anything worth its grain of salt in terms of visuals this episode. All righty, so let's move on to episode 3. It's called Betrayer Moon. So this kind of starts out with Yennefer and Istrid like totally becoming lovers, like at hunchback sex and everything.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah, it's was kind of weird. I didn't realize what was happening at first because they were doing it in like a crowd of people, in front of a crowd of people. I was like, what is going on? But then you
kinda
just
like
realize,
exhibitionist.
yeah, you just realize it's just helping Yennefer become more confident in her abilities, specifically because she's so self-confident or self-conscious about herself. And so she's going through all of this, and she ends up learning that you have a chance to transform your body into like an ideal image whenever you graduate from the Mages Academy. And so she's pretty dope or pretty excited about that. But then I think she ends up saying that she doesn't want to do it because of like this confidence that she's built with Istrid. It's like, well, no, like you can see me for who I really am. I don't really need to do that. But also, you find out that Istrid has been spying on Yennefer. And it's kind of both ways. Yennefer has been spying on Istrid. Istrid's been spying on Yennefer, and it's all because of Stregobor, who is Istrid's mentor, wants to dig up information because he's not a huge fan of Tisaya, and it's vice versa, you know? And so basically, whenever the witches graduate, they get picked to go to a specific country. Yennefer really, really wanted Adern. Yeah, I think Adern's right. So Yennefer really wanted to go to Adern. That's like it's up near where she's from. It's like a really nice area. But then because of Istrid, they learned that Yennefer is part elf, which Yennefer had only told Istrid about. Because of that, they say, "Oh, well, Yennefer can't go to Adern. That's these names, man. Can't go to Adern because they hate elves." And so Frangilla ends up being able to go to Adern, who's the granddaughter of some other person who's on the board of the council. So you can kind of see it's corrupt, and they're trying to blackmail each other into getting what they want.
Right.
And so Yennefer finds out about this and angrily like breaks up with Istrid because he's the only one that could have told Stregobor about her blood. And she ends up missing the graduation because she's trying to like come up with ways to get out of this this predicament that she's in. Yeah. So since she missed the
known as like sort of like the evil country, right?
Yeah, Nilfgaard's like, well, at this point it's not an evil country. It's just like despicable. Like nobody has respect for it. It's dirty, filthy. It's just not a place anybody wants to be.
Right.
And so when Yennefer finds out that she missed graduation, she ends up going to the guy who does the like transformation stuff and ends up saying like, do it anyway. Like, I don't care if we're going to get in trouble, do it anyway. And so he does the whole transformation thing, gets rid of her hunchback and, takes out her womb or whatever it is they do to make them infertile.
I didn't appreciate that part. I thought that was kind of unnecessary.
Weird.
Yeah.
It literally shows you like reaching into her vagina and pulling out like a bloody chunk of something.
Yeah. It's crazy. And so she ends up coming out of that like super duper drop dead gorgeous. And because she's
floor.
yeah, right. Because she's drop dead gorgeous, she ends up convincing the Adern king to take her instead of Frangilla. And then Frangilla ends up going to Nilfgaard. This is also a plot point that's incredibly important in the future. Yeah, no joke.
Real quick, so, I think I told you guys a story before, but I don't think it was on the show. When beautiful Yennefer walks onto the floor, I was like, man, they didn't really do a good job making that actress look like the Hunchback girl. And then I like Googled it later. It's like, oh, it's the same actress.
Yeah.
Wow.
They do a really good job, and it's funny because they don't necessarily do much. I think she just does a really good job at contorting her body and like making dumb faces. But I'm pretty sure they like I think she has a prosthetic on her nose and then like cotton shoved in her mouth and then the Hunchback.
Right. So good job, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Yennefer going to Aedirn and Fringilla now going to Nilfgaard, Yennefer's story in this particular episode kind of ends there. So we flip over to Geralt, and he enters the kingdom of Temeria, which is quite important in the second Witcher game, especially if you any of y'all know who Triss Marigold is.
Nope.
But Geralt goes into the kingdom of Temeria to investigate a monster, and he's assisted by Triss Marigold. She's a witch that is the sorceress advisor to King Folstis. Um, and so basically, there is a monster terrorizing the town around a specific part of the castle, and it's like in a mine area. And so Geralt investigates it and find out that it's a Triga or Shriga. Yeah, Shriga.
Striga.
Why
Striga.
Striga? Why am I so bad with these names? These names are hard.
It's
So it's a Striga, and it's a creature born from a curse. And basically finds out that it's the unborn, or it's the child, the cursed child of King Foltest and his sister. So some Game of Thrones
Yeah.
Lannister action going on right there.
Close.
But basically, the Foltest's sister had a dude who was in love with her, and he found out about what was going on and ended up placing a curse on her, and she ends up dying and giving birth to this Striga, Princess
Ada. Yeah.
Princess Ada.
No, wait. Ada was
Princess
the sister.
Ada was the sister. Yeah. And I guess it didn't. The daughter didn't have a name at that point because nobody knew it existed.
Right.
So he goes, and instead of just killing it, he breaks the Striga curse, and it's a pretty good fight. But he ends up pulling a quick one and locking himself into the Striga's coffin. The way that you transform a Striga is to keep it outside of its coffin by the time the morning rolls around, and then it transforms into just a regular old feral human instead of a feral monster.
After he gets his butt kicked.
That guy that cursed the Ada, like Geralt finds out that he was like raping her or like even doing like necrophilia shit, if I understood correctly.
I think I think he was like jerking off on the place where she used to sleep.
Ugh.
Well, Geralt doesn't like that,
Nope.
so he chains the dude up and basically uses him as bait for the Striga to lure it out.
Yep, and
That dude does.
Yeah, it wrecks him. So that pretty much wraps that up. The only thing that happened with Ciri is that her and Dara just walked a little bit, and they end up going into a forest. Ciri like goes into a trance and follows into the forest, and while Dara is like following her, he gets shot with an arrow randomly.
I thought he was dead at that point.
Yeah, I did too.
When he was alive later.
Yep. So that's pretty much where it ends, and you don't find out much about that weird forest.
Yeah,
so
maybe next episode.
So overall I thought this episode was okay. One important thing to mention is that another Witcher had tried to go and fight that Striga and totally failed, and that's why Geralt ended up going to try and do the job, because he had heard that a Witcher failed, and he also needed money because he was overstayed at a hotel and gave all of his money to the brothel women.
Them whores ain't cheap.
No, they ain't. She was kind of good looking too.
So Scott, story development.
I'm actually gonna give this one a high rating because the Yennefer plot, I felt it really continued on from the last one, and I found her storyline in general a lot very interesting. And then Geralt, his subplot in this one, I think it's one of the more memorable ones, just solving the mystery of what happened to the princess and how the Striga got created. And then Triss Marigold did a good job too. I'm going to give this one a 5 because, like I said, this is one of the more memorable ones for me.
How about you, Rich?
4. I like the action that was going on with everything in both setups. Not really so much serious stuff, but It was still good. I enjoyed
That's the
it.
thing. There was so little Siri in this one. It's like it helped the episode.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it totally did. I thought this episode was really good. So the King Foltest and the Striga is one of my
Striga.
Striga. It's one of my favorite stories. In the books and the opening of the first Witcher game, it actually animates this entire kind of
Oh, really?
sequence. Yeah, it
This is
shows
also
like
the very first like story in the first book.
yep. It shows shows Geralt like preparing to fight the Striga and all that fun stuff. So it's quite cool. So I'm giving it a 5. The Yennefer progression was pivotal. It is like this is one of the defining moments of Yennefer's character.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I think is weird that you guys might not know is that I don't think you find out all of this about Yennefer until well beyond the first couple of books.
Yeah, I read some like character summaries or something, and the thing about being a hunchback almost seemed like a footnote for her.
Yeah.
It's like
And
that
it's like,
randomly comes up at one point.
yeah, the show makes it a lot more, talks about it a lot more in depth than I remember the books being. Maybe some of the books I haven't read expand on it, but um, I almost kind of wish that they introduced her without that. Like, because whenever you first meet Yennefer in the books, she's just a super smoking hot, sorceress
Yeah.
who's kicking butt and taking names.
Well, here's the
But
thing with that. In my Yennefer is one of my favorite characters, but in my opinion, she can be a bit of a pill. Like she always does what she wants, what's best for herself. She's kind of selfish. I feel like if you don't have this backstory where you learn what she's been through, like I feel like a lot of people wouldn't like her as much as they do. She wouldn't be as sympathetic.
yeah, which is why I think it should have happened at a later point, or like maybe not as much involvement because that, especially in the books and in the game, that's kind of one of Yennefer's defining characteristics is that she's awful.
Yeah.
So that's why, if you guys don't know, there's a huge Team Triss, Team Yennefer
Yeah, I'm
debacle.
sure.
So
Team Edward.
right. So what'd you think of the action, Scott?
The action in this one was really good. Well, at least Geralt's part of it because there's like the extended fight sequence with the Striga. He has to like fight it till dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there wasn't really any action per se in Yennefer's plot, but there's not really the show's not really about action. And because the Striga fight was so good, I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, it's definitely more Yennefer's. Geralt's plot's more action heavy. Yennefer's is more drama.
Yeah.
How about you, Rich?
I'm going to give it a 5. I did like everything that happened with Yennefer's story, transformation. Even though, like you said, it wasn't action, it was still movement of her storyline. And then the Striga fight was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought the Striga fight was great. I'm gonna give it a 4 as well.
I think it's funny that he manages to like defeat the Striga, but then like once it's a human, it gets him.
Yeah, like bite. Oh
bites.
yeah, I didn't mention that. It totally
Yeah.
like just bites his throat out.
It's like,
Yeah.
ow.
Yeah, and Triss basically has to keep him from dying.
I'm pretty sure his penis took over at that point, and that's why she got him off guard.
You want to know what's disturbing though? I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be like a preteen girl.
Ew.
Yeah,
Like
she doesn't
in
look
the
that
actual
old.
story, I'm pretty sure it's like a 12 or 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that one, she's not 12.
No, that'd be illegal.
Yeah.
So what'd you guys think of the acting?
You know, as far as Triss goes, I don't think she's bad, but I don't think she's great either.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm sure we'll see more of her later, but she's been sort of a side character so far. Geralt's good as always. I really like that scene where he reveals that he knows what the captain dude did to Ada, and he like gets all up in his face, towering over him. And then we also got a lot more of Yennefer doing what she wants and just generally being a badass. So for acting, I'll give it a. And Foltest was pretty good too for the scenes he was in. I'll give it a 4.
Rich?
No, I'm gonna do. I'll get a 4. I thought it was good.
All right, and I am going to give it a 5. I would say this is probably one of my favorite episodes in the entire first season. I thought the acting was really great, especially that last portion of Yennefer's storyline, especially the acting that had to be done whenever she is getting her procedure done.
Oh yeah.
That's some pretty hardcore. It was very violent, and I felt like she was able to portray the pain and like just the excruciating situation that she was in quite well.
Good job, Yennefer.
All right, so let's finish this episode off. How about the visuals?
On the visuals, the Strigo looked really cool, and that whole haunted castle that she was in looked awesome. All of just the general castle imagery. I think there's like this one snowy landscape shot that's pretty neat. Costume design as always is great. Aristugo looks good. The Striga didn't look terrible, so I guess I'll give this one a 5.
Rich?
4. Wasn't over the top. Oh my god, but still pretty decent.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 5, and mainly driven by the visuals done around Yennefer, and especially the way that like the camera shot with her walking in and everybody's jaws dropping, and the way they like cut it from, like the way they stopped at the, like her just like lying at in a ball covered in her own blood after the procedure, into her like walking in confidently and looking like a California dime. I just thought
Right.
it was a very good sequence of events, and then the fight and all of that was really good. I didn't feel like they went over the top. I feel like Game of Thrones especially was one TV show that kind of went over the top with the visuals and the action. I feel like
Especially
this
later
show,
on.
yeah, I feel like this show was like right there, good to go.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so moving on to the last episode we're going to cover in this episode of the podcast of Banquets, Bastards, and Burials. So I know I probably said that episode 3 was my favorite, so this one actually might be my actual favorite. So we start off with Yennefer kind of hanging out in a cart with some queen holding a baby. You find out that it's Queen Callus of Lyria, who is currently the queen of Aedirn. She has been the sorceress in Aedirn for 3 decades at this point.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so you can
I didn't
see
realize that.
that. Yeah, yeah, she looks good after 30 years. So you can kind of see that she's just totally bored. Like becoming a sorceress for Aedirn was not everything that she had hoped it would be, and she kind of complains that all she's been doing is just fixing political messes for idiot kings. And then all of a sudden,
That's
she
your
gets,
job.
yeah, right. She gets attacked by an assassin, and this assassin has some dope little bug scythe creature that's just like slaughtering everybody. So there's some pretty cool action of her taking the queen's newborn baby daughter, and trying to escape this assassin. But the assassin keeps following them, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you are like they're tracking us somehow." And she starts ripping everything off of the queen. But they just don't do a good job at getting away. And so Yennefer seemingly just ghosts on him, just leaves the lady and leaves the baby. And the queen is just like, you know what, just take my baby. I know that it was my husband who sent you. He's not happy that I'm only making daughters, so he wants to start over and get himself a queen that can make some sons. Just take the baby and we'll and let me go. And the
Feels like if Yennefer was doing her job, she would have been able to see that coming.
Yeah, right. I was kind of underwhelmed with how powerful Yennefer was in this kind of
It kind of seemed like the only thing she could do was the portaling.
Yep, pretty much.
Run.
I mean,
and run away.
Yeah.
And she controlled the bug. But so the bug thing kills the queen and then goes to kill the baby, but Yennefer like comes back and through the portal and like uses her magic to make the bug kill itself. And she grabs the baby and goes to jump through the portal, but the assassin like throws a dagger and it goes through Yennefer's shoulder and into the baby. And
All I could think about was Bellatrix throwing the knife at Dobby.
oh yeah, that is exactly the first thing I thought of as well. It's like, oh man, poor Dobby, poor baby. So she ends up falling into an ocean and swimming to a beach, and of course the baby's dead. You can't really tell if the baby died from the knife or if it drowned while she was trying to swim to the shore. So she buries the baby and kind of reflects for a little bit, and you kind of realize it's like she really is not happy with her life and is kind of longing to have a baby, which can't happen because her guts were taken out whenever she was made all beautiful.
She's made some poor choices.
Yeah, right. She has. So that is really all we get on Yennefer for this half of the season.
Yep.
So now we focus on Geralt. So Geralt is accompanying Jaskier to a betrothal feast for Princess Pavetta, who is Queen Calanthe's daughter. Now, if you don't recall, Princess Ciri is Queen Calanthe's granddaughter. So Pavetta is Ciri's mom. This is kind of where the gears should probably start turning, because you learn in the first episode that Pavetta is no longer alive and that it's just Ciri and her grandma.
To me, it was like the biggest twist in the season. I was like, what?
Yeah, I thought it was very cool. And this is particularly, it's a betrothal feast for Pavetta, who isn't married, doesn't have any kids. So you have to realize, okay, so Ciri is her kid, her granddaughter, but Pavetta isn't married. What's going on here? But outside of that, you are... not you, I'm sorry. So Geralt is accompanying Jaskier because Jaskier is like playing at this feast and he's totally scared that he's going to get attacked because he's kind of a slut and is sleeping with all these rich dudes' wives.
Is this the bathtub scene?
No.
Is that this episode?
No.
Okay.
Nope. So Geralt is basically just hanging out here. And there's kind of like some chitter chatter and some random banter of drunken men, and they're all presenting like why they should be the one to marry Pavetta. And one important note is that somebody from Nilfgaard comes in and is like, I want to take her hand, and everybody just laughs and makes fun of him. Like he's just like a complete joke, and everybody's talking about how weak and small and dirty and just terrible Nilfgaard is.
This just clicked in my head. This is the main villain, dude, isn't it?
No.
Nope.
I'm wrong. Okay. Sorry. Ignore
No
me.
spoilers. Shh. So, yeah, and they kind of talk about how Nilfgaard is currently just super corrupt. Everybody's killing everybody to try and become king, and they don't have any like single king. Nobody's supporting one person, and this is the same Nilfgaard that in the first episode has become such a powerful force that they can take out Sintra. Sintra being like the leading power in the country or on the continent. So Nilfgaard's just totally humiliated and kicked off to the side. And randomly, some dude in a knight outfit comes in and wants to take her hand in marriage. And Clancy's like, oh, like this is what the heck are you? You're nobody. And so he basically says that he demands Pavetta's hand because of the law of surprise. So he saved her father many years ago and invoked the law of surprise as his reward. The law of surprise basically says that if you invoke it, the thing that you go home to that you don't know you have now belongs to that person who invoked it. So like if Scott invoked the law of surprise on Rich and Rich went home and found that his wife ordered a pizza without him knowing it, that pizza is now Scott's.
I will murder you for my
This is
pizza.
getting interesting.
Just telling you.
So it's pretty much just a tradition that's driven by destiny. People think that if they don't adhere to the tradition, destiny is going to come and screw them up.
Gotcha.
So Calanthe's not cool with that, and she starts fighting him and tries to kill him. And there's a big battle. She's demanding that Geralt's killing him because I didn't mention this, but he is what's Dooney. Dooney's his name.
Yeah.
He is cursed, so he looks like Sonic the Hedgehog, basically.
I hated the way he looked. He looked so
Yeah.
stupid.
He looked terrible, and I'm pretty sure he was supposed to look really stupid and terrible, but man,
Yeah.
did he look terrible. He looked like just a hedgehog creature. And so Calanthe tries to get Geralt to kill him because he's like a monster, and Geralt's like, no, that's not a monster, that's a human who's cursed. And so she says screw it and tries to kill him, and Geralt starts protecting him and like killing everybody around him. And it's just like a huge general, just a huge battle. One thing that I thought was cool was that the guy who you see in the first episode, who is married to Calanthe in the first episode, is not married to Calanthe here, and is totally like, guys, you have to respect the law of surprise, and is like killing Calanthe's men because she's not respecting the law of surprise. So I thought that was a pretty neat twist, that he was like, okay, no, I'm gonna pick the Destiny over Calanthe, who I'm trying to hook up with.
Maybe that helped earn her respect.
Yeah, maybe. Just maybe. So they're fighting, and then eventually the fighting like kind of stops, and mainly because Pavetta is like, no, I love this man, like I want to marry him. And Calanthe's like, okay, yeah, okay, you can do this, and then last minute she tries to pull out a dagger and stab him, but then Pavetta goes just like super magical crazy and starts
Super Saiyan.
screaming. Yeah, she goes like Super Saiyan, like some weird tornado thing starts happening. And it's like blowing everybody back, and Geralt can't do anything, nobody can do anything, and it's all just going nuts. And everybody just thinks like, oh, hey, like this is what happens when you try to mess with Destiny. This is what happens. Law of surprise is powerful. And after like, I don't know, what feels like 30 minutes of her just like being in some weird tornado trance, like saying weird things and doing weird stuff, they end up kissing, and that breaks Dooney's curse and stops the weird, crazy magic tornado. And then that's when Calanthe's like, okay, law of surprise, I'll respect it. You can marry her. And so then
Well, he doesn't look like a hedgehog anymore, so
yeah, right. So Dooney thanks Geralt for his aid and insists that he take a reward. So Geralt jokingly invokes the law of surprise for something Dooney doesn't yet know. And that's when Pavetta pukes, and everybody's like, oh God, she's pregnant. And Geralt's just like,
He says his famous line.
I didn't really understand the law of surprise yet at this point fully. And because as soon as he says the law of surprise jokingly, Pavetta like instantly, is stricken. I thought that maybe that had somehow impregnated her with like Geralt's seed.
no.
I was like, wow.
It basically just said, whatever you don't know, Dooney, whatever you don't know, whatever you have that you don't know is now mine. That's my reward. And that's when Feda's like, oh no, I'm pregnant. And then it's like, okay, well now that child is Geralt's by destiny. Like,
yep.
And
that's why they're so intrinsically linked.
Yep. And so this all implies that Dooney is Ciri's mom or Ciri's dad. Pavetta is her mom, and then Geralt is, the Destiny dad.
Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather. And so that pretty much wraps it up for Geralt's story. Just kind of ends it with oh fuck, and then and then it just I don't know. I thought that thing was so funny because he jokingly invokes it, and then she pukes, and he's just like,
it's like, can you take the law of surprise back?
Yep. So
you can't.
So if people haven't noticed by now, the TV show is telling these story plots from different points in time. So Geralt has been historically in the past, Yennefer has been in the past, and then Ciri's storyline is the current timeline. So we go to the current timeline, and basically the Nilfgaards are just after Ciri. They are just undyingly after her. They want her, and like they believe quite a few things about some prophecy. And they end up having Mousesack as a prisoner, and I don't think it's this episode.
No, not the doppelganger thing.
Yeah, I don't think the doppelganger, which is my least favorite plot point. I don't think the doppelganger's in this one. They just realize that they have Mousesack as a prisoner, and then from there it cuts to Ciri and Dara, and they get brought in by the dryads of Brokilon Forest, and are basically like, "Hey, come on in, come on in." Um, and while they're being welcomed into Brokilon Forest, Fringilla, who is working for Nilfgaard because of the crap that Yennefer had done, uses a spell, like a forbidden spell, to track Ciri's location. So Fringilla is working with Nilfgaard to help overthrow everybody after they're trying to get Ciri, which I don't know. It's kind of like at this point, it's all slowly coming together. You're kind of seeing
Right. How
oh
everything
God,
connects.
yeah, everything is connecting. People, like, these consequences are that are happening in the past are kind of snowballing and cascading into these bigger deals in the future. Because Yennefer cheating Fringilla out of going to Aedirn caused her to go to Nilfgaard, which she ended up being a humongously influential power in Nilfgaard.
Yeah, to start the
So,
war.
yep.
And Yennefer didn't even like Aedirn. So maybe if she had just gone to Nilfgaard, maybe none of this would have happened.
Yep. It is it's pretty awesome. But yeah, I think some of the important points to pay attention to at this point in the series, and probably for the rest of the rest of the season, because you still don't find out like what the deal with Nilfgaard is. You just know that they really, really want Ciri, and that that they believe in some sort of prophecy, and some sort of like weird pseudo religion or some crap like
Right.
that. So
I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to see the dryads more because I thought they were really cool, but it's like Ciri's in and out of there.
yeah, so what's even more weird with the dryads is that technically at this point in the TV series, Geralt and Ciri should have already spent time together. Geralt and Ciri spent time together whenever she was a lot younger, and then he brings her back. Like, he takes her to the I'm pretty sure this is correct. Scott, you're actually reading the book, so maybe you'll be able to correct me on an episode
Ciri
in the
has not been
future.
mentioned yet from where I'm at.
Yeah, so after she's born, he ends up getting her or finding her. I don't remember exactly what the um, turn of events are, but she ends up traveling with him for a little bit. He drops her off with the druids, and then eventually takes her back to Calanthe. And then, spoiler alert for episode 8, whenever they actually meet each other in the forest after Geralt saves that one dude and whose family just so happened to take in Ciri, that was technically supposed to be the second time that they were reunited. That's how Ciri was supposed to know, like, oh, hey, that's Geralt, I'm going to run to him.
I did have that thought. Like, did she just know he's a large white-haired man?
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty crappy that they didn't include the younger
Taking some
venture.
liberties.
Yeah, taking some liberties. But yeah, episode 4, midpoint of the season. Scott, what do you think about the story development?
This one's definitely a 5, just because of the big twist with you realizing that Geralt's and Ciri are not even in like the same timeline this whole time. So that was really cool. The whole thing with Pavetta, and you get more of Calanthe. Yennefer's plot was on the weaker side for her, but I think that was just like making more room for how important Geralt's story was this week or this episode. And then once again, there's not a whole lot of Ciri either, so that's a plus again.
Yep. How about you, Rich?
I'm going with 5. I did really enjoy the storyline with Geralt, the Law of Surprise, how that all was all introduced. I think that was such a great introduction to that.
Yep, I also agree with that being a 5. It was probably one of the most important episodes in the season, simply because you learn about the just the way that they're telling the story. I specifically remember when people were watching this and everybody was confused. Everybody was constantly pointing out like just how confused they were and how they weren't really liking it because they're not understanding how the storytelling is being told. Then I think this episode like ties it in. It's where it doesn't specifically tell you that there's different timelines. You just have to pay attention. Like in episode 3 where you are learning about Full Test and his sister, right at the beginning of episode 4 as um Geralt and Jaskier are going into this banquet, like you see a woman like smacking her kid and saying, "Full Test, leave your sister alone." I
Oh yeah, I
mean,
think when that
Yeah.
happened was when I was immediately like,
yeah. And I also think it's funny because at that point, Jaskier's got to be what, in his 20s? And
yeah,
Full Test is a kid right there. But in that episode, in episode 3, Full Test is like a pretty old dude. So Jaskier's, by the time Jaskier is going to show up in like the any kind of current timeline, he's going to be like a 50-year-old man.
that's gonna be sad.
It's going to be weird.
Although I think he is known for his boyish looks, because I think he's
Yeah.
supposed to be even older than he looks, even in the current timeline or the modern or past or whatever.
Yep. So what do you guys think of the action?
Um, I think I'm gonna give it a 5 this time as well, because the whole like you know court duel with everybody fighting each other, and then Pavetta's like magic, tantrum is really awesome. And then I know she's really just kind of running through portals for her life, but all the scenery that Yennefer's like running through, it's like pretty epic. The assassins are pretty neat, and I thought the dryads were cool too. So yeah,
5. I thought it
Yep.
was such a well done episode.
I'm also giving it a 5. The all the battling that happened in Calanthe's castle was just super cool. And I think you also get a like at the beginning of the episode, you get like a pretty cool. No, that's the beginning of episode 1. Actually, I was thinking of whenever you see Calanthe like actually out in battle, like killing people.
oh yeah,
But she does walk in and was just like, "Yeah, I was just killing some people who weren't listening to me." It's like,
she's a
my God,
badass.
yeah. Um, so how about the acting?
I think Yennefer was good as always, as was Geralt. This episode had Calanthe, so that's like an automatic bonus point. However, I did think that Dooney and Pavetta were kind of like whatever. They were just sort of set. Well, they were important to the plot, but like they didn't really jump out at me as being like cool characters or particularly memorable. Um, so I think I will give it a 4.
Rich?
I am going to give it a 4. The acting was okay. The main characters obviously did a great job, but some of the side stuff was not the best.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. I really do not like the Pavetta actress's acting. I think it's quite poor.
Maybe that's where
Compared.
Siri got her acting.
Yeah, good point. But I did think Geralt was really good. I thought the Calanthe was really, really awesome. Yennefer was okay in this. I don't really think that this actress is super good at portraying like really sad moments. Like I
Yeah.
think she nails a lot of Yennefer really well, but I don't think she does super great at the sad, depressed moments, like when she was sitting on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just thought the
That
Pavetta
queen
actress
was
was
kind of the other queen that Yennefer was protecting. She wasn't bad.
no, she was actually like I hated her, and I think that was the point.
Yeah.
Like she was able to really portray being just an absolutely awful person.
Right.
So how about the visuals, Scott?
I wish I could give this one a 5 because the court looks awesome and the dryads look awesome. And like we said, the fights are pretty good. The magic looks awesome. But I'm going to give it a 3 because I hate how Dooney looks. Just like off-putting to even like be on screen.
I'm gonna give it a 4. Dooney did not bother me as much apparently as it did you, Scott, but I thought it was okay. That was good.
You into Hedgehog Man?
I mean, yeah.
So I'll give it a 4. I thought the fact that looking at Dooney was so disturbing, like kind of speaks to like, yeah, that's good. Like he was supposed to be disturbing. Like people were supposed to look at him and go like, oh my God, you can't marry a princess.
It reminds me of that Cats
Um,
movie, like how all the characters are just like you don't
Yeah.
even want to look at them.
Very off-putting.
And his nose looked like it was kind of painted on too.
So I would have given this a 5, but I really, really did not like the visuals of Pavetta going into her weird magic spiraling tornado. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I thought it was
It might have
pretty
reached a little
terrible.
far for that.
And I thought the acting in that scene was also really, really bad between
Mhm.
Pavetta and Dooney.
Womp womp. They weren't great. So how are we going to score this overall? Are we going to wait till we do the part 2 and then combine it all, or like? do we wanna-
Probably. I think I'll probably work through some averages and end up doing a final
Okay.
tally.
So we're not doing
um,
like a part 1 tally.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No, this is the beta testing of our TV series review.
Yeah.
Already have complaints, but yeah. So that is the first half of the Witcher TV series. I'm very glad we decided to do it in parts, especially with those episode recaps. So general consensus on the first half of the season. What do you guys think?
Very promising.
Yeah. At first, I was a little like apprehensive about it, just because it seemed like the stories weren't really going anywhere for the first couple episodes. Because, like I said, you don't really understand that Yennefer's a main character right away, or like what her story has to do with Geralt. And some of it does seem like side stories. But by the time episode 3 happens and Yennefer's plot keeps going, and then in episode 4, the big twist with everything. By the time episode 4 was over, I was like, all right, I'm in this now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think so far this season, and probably even after the season, it's a little weird because they are respecting the fact that the first 2 books are just short stories about Geralt.
Mhm.
And those short stories are super important for character building. So I think it's just a weird. There are almost no cliffhangers in any of these episodes. They're pretty much all self-contained stories for the most part, aside from maybe Ciri.
Yeah.
Everything with Geralt and Yennefer are usually kind of like more complete plot points.
Which is interesting considering that, Ciri having the overarching plot is also like the weakest one.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know. I was so used to Game of Thrones at this point that I was expecting like every episode just be nothing but cliffhanger, or like
Yeah.
me having some reason to where I just can't wait until the next day to watch another episode.
It's almost like a more whimsical Game of Thrones almost.
Yeah.
Yep, it is more fantasy than Game of Thrones, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But you still get a good ration of nudity and violence.
I'm glad you guys kind of forced
Love
my
it.
hand on watching this, because now I would say like I'm kind of a low-key Witcher fan, whereas before I was just like paid attention to it because I'd had friends that were into it.
Well, good. Maybe we should do a book club review. Do the
Yeah.
Witcher books. All
Rich
right,
can't
so
read.
poor guy.
Sorry.
So that is our first half. Yeah, we can, start wrapping this up. So next week we will be doing The Witcher Part 2, in which we will cover episodes 5 through 8.
And our
yeah.
overall thoughts
And our overall thoughts,
with our ratings.
which probably won't differ too much from this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do some averages, do some mathematics, maybe throw in some machine learning algorithms, and come up with some sort of score out of
my math.
5. Yeah, so that'll be next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this first part. If you have any feedback, this is totally our first TV series review. So
I almost
If you-
said movie review to correct you or to help you, and I was like, wait, that's not right.
yeah, we haven't done this before, so this is totally just us testing out a way to rate a TV series. It was kind of lengthier, it on the lengthy side than I wanted. So we are absolutely open to ideas and advice or just critiques on how we handled this episode and how to better handle those episodes in the future. So go ahead and send us like an email or hit us up on the Discord if you're a patron, or just tweet us. All of that you will find out in our plugs.
Yeah, so the Discord, you can find the link to that in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this. And you can email us at rpgafteryears@gmail.com. That's the best way to get in contact with us. That and Twitter.
Yeah.
And then the Patreon, just one more reminder. We've got all these neat things that you can get over there. Early episode access, ad-free episodes. You can participate in the live video versions or watch the video versions afterwards. They stay up. Jay is getting his first anime corner out there. Our first aftercast is already out there. Somebody won. James won a monthly raffle last week. He's getting some goodies too. And then we got extra reviews out there, and there's even more bonus shit. I think I posted like a strategy guide I wrote when I was in middle school for Final Fantasy VII for the
Nice.
material lockdown people.
Nice.
It's got to be interesting.
Yeah.
Take a look.
Is it done well? Are you like, did you do it with intent of being super professional?
It was for my. It was always supposed to be for my own use, but it's good enough to where anybody could use it.
That's pretty
So
cool.
go check that out.
Yeah, so you can find us at RPG Years on Twitter. You can find me at JAY
And me at HailBlue1569.
You can find me at the Scott Spot.
And if you ever want to contact Bill, which is at this point he's an afterthought. I don't know very many people who even know who Bill is at this point.
We do have a tea time for him next week.
Yep, next week we'll have a tea time for him with his entire thoughts about The Witcher. But you can find him at Metunica. That's METUNNICA.
And guys, don't forget about the material lockdown. It's going strong already. Boot up your FF7 saves. Let's go.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed part 1 of our Witcher review. So join us next week for our thoughts on episodes 5 through 8, and then our overall consensus on these on the season and the TV series as a whole. So until then, I'm Jay.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Scott.
We'll see you next time for episode 7 of the RPG After Years.
Later.
Bye.
Phew. That was grueling.